Journey back with us to the ancient times, to a game that bore a striking resemblance to what we now know as football. Picture this, the 2nd and 3rd centuries before Christ, during the Han Dynasty in China. Military forces are engrossed in a game known as Tzu, which involves kicking a leather ball stuffed with fur into a small hole. No hands allowed, a rule that might sound familiar to modern football fans. Now let's travel to Egypt around 2,500 years before Christ. There's a ball game being played by young women. We don't know much about it, but it was important enough to be depicted on the tomb of Bakhet III. Fast forward a few centuries to 1,000 years before Christ. In Japan, they're playing a game called Kemari. It's reminiscent of the modern game of hacky sack, with 2 to 12 players using a larger ball stuffed with sawdust. The field is marked by 4 trees: cherry, maple, pine and willow. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece, they're playing episkiros. 2 equal-numbered teams vie to throw the ball over the heads of the other team. Teams switch the ball often until one is forced behind the line at their end. Now, let's hop to about 50 years before Christ. Here we witness a significant milestone: the first international game. China's Tzu players and Japan's Kemari players face off in a version of soccer that, while different from what we know today, echoes the spirit of international competition we associate with modern football. From the fur-stuffed balls of China to the sawdust-filled ones of Japan, the roots of football had started to take hold. As we delve further into the history of this beloved sport, remember these humble beginnings, the passion and the dedication that laid the foundation for the game we love today. As we move into the Middle Ages and Renaissance periods, football-like games began to take shape across Europe. In the heart of Italy, a game called calcio emerged. This wasn't just a kickabout in the park. Oh no. Imagine teams of more than 27 people, all vying to kick, carry, or pass a ball across a goal line. The rules of this game were so popular that in 1580 Giovanni Bardi took it upon himself to publish them, spreading the love of the game even further. But it wasn't all smooth sailing for the sport. In 1424, King James I of Scotland decided he'd had enough of the beautiful game and passed a law banning it. Football, it seemed, was a royal pain. Across the border in England, Queen Elizabeth now went a step further in 1572. If you were caught playing football, you could be sentenced to a week in jail, followed by penance in a church. Talk about a yellow card. Despite these royal decrees, football refused to be sidelined. In 1605, the game became legal again in England. The nation breathed a sigh of relief as the familiar sound of a leather ball being kicked echoed through the streets once more. Across the pond in North America, Native American Indians in the original Jamestown settlement were playing their own version of football. Named Pasukwakohowog, meaning they gathered to play ball with the foot. It was a rough-and-tumble game played on the beach. The field was a half-mile wide with goals a mile apart, and matches could involve as many as 1,000 players at a time. Despite the challenges, football survived, setting the stage for the sport's evolution in the centuries to come. Now, we step into the 19th century, a pivotal time in football history. In the early part of this century, football was played among the northeastern universities and colleges of Harvard, Princeton, Amherst, and Brown in the United States. However, across the pond in England, Eton College was taking a significant step towards standardizing the game. In 1815, Eton College established a set of rules for the game, providing a framework that would form the bedrock for the sport's future development. By 1820, the game had crossed the Atlantic and was being played in the United States, particularly among the northeastern universities and colleges of Harvard, Princeton, Amherst, and Brown. But it was the events of 1848 that would truly shape the game as we know it today. That year, the rules were further standardized in what became known as the Cambridge Rules. These were adopted by all the schools, colleges, and universities, creating a unified approach to the game for the first time. Then, in 1862, another milestone was reached. The first soccer club formed anywhere outside of England was established. The Oneida Football Club in Boston, USA, marked the start of the game's international expansion. Yet it was on October 26, 1863, that arguably the most significant event in football history occurred. 11 London schools and clubs gathered at the Freemasons' Tavern to establish a single set of rules to administer any football match played among them. This meeting led to the formation of the Football Association, bringing a newfound level of organization and professionalism to the sport. In December of the same year, association football and rugby football finally split into two different organizations, clearly defining the two sports. Later in the year, the first ever soccer match was played on Barnes Common at Mortlake, London on the 19th of December 1863 between Barnes Football Club and Richmond Football Club. The game ended in a 0-0 draw, but its significance was far from nil. The 19th century saw football evolve into a sport we'd recognize today, marking the birth of modern football. So, there we have it, a whirlwind tour through the timeline of football, from its ancient origins in China's Han Dynasty with Tzu Chu to the Egyptian bull games and the Japanese Kamari. Football's roots are steeped in history. The game evolved during the Middle Ages and Renaissance, surviving prohibitions and laws and taking on various forms across the globe. Italy's Calcio, the Eskimos' Aksaktuk and Passarquoddy of the original Jamestown settlement all contributed to the rich tapestry of the sport's evolution. The 19th century heralded the birth of modern football. The formation of the Football Association in England standardized rules, carving a path for the game we know and love today. From school fields to the hallowed grounds of world-class stadiums, football has become a universal language, transcending borders and cultures. From ancient civilizations to the bustling cities of the 19th century, football's journey is a testament to its enduring appeal and the universal love for the beautiful game.